we've got Serge in Australia. Pronouns are he, him. Wants to know, why are atheists asking for evidence? And why do theists want to prove anything? Belief doesn't require evidence. Welcome, Serge. How are you? Or is it Sergey?
Good. How are you guys?
Is it Sergey and I did it wrong?
Serge.
Serge, good.
No, it's Serge.
You're absolutely right, Serge, that beliefs don't require evidence, but warranted beliefs do. And I would like for my beliefs to be warranted. And that's why I ask for evidence. And rational, reasonable people want warranted beliefs. And so that's why theists who think that their God belief is warranted try to provide evidence. Does that answer your question?
It actually does. But what's the difference between those two beliefs, warranted and non-warranted?
Well, warranted beliefs are less likely to be wrong, aren't they?
Yeah, but warranted by what?
Warranted by the evidence. Like if you believe that there's if we're getting ready to cross the street and you believe that there's no bus coming towards us, and I believe that there is a bus coming towards us, isn't the actual evidence the thing that determines which of us has a warranted belief? And isn't that important?
It is. I have a similar example. If I was to bet on a fixed game, am I still betting?
Yes, you're still betting. That doesn't necessarily mean you are gambling to the same extent that you would be gambling were the game not fixed.
Exactly. So that's actually my point, because for me, belief with evidence stops being a belief. It's knowledge. It's a fact.
No, knowledge is a subset of belief. It doesn't stop being a belief. All of the things you know, you still believe them.
Yeah, you have to have well, hold on, Serge. You have to have the belief, right? If it's like a component of that, you're going to have that. Like, think about the difference. Like, if I just believe it's raining outside, what I'm saying is I have a commitment towards the proposition that it's raining outside, right? The proposition is that it's raining outside, and I have a commitment. My commitment is that I think it's true. What Matt's saying is that it's not just merely the fact that I have this commitment to a proposition. It's that there's something doing the justifying, right? Something that presumably warrants why I have the belief, right? So there's a symmetry there, right? They're not the same thing.
This is why on the show, this is why we ask, what do you believe in why? And why is the important part, because there's a billion people on the planet who believe in some sort of God, but they don't all believe for the same reasons. And the why behind that belief is what's important, because if their reasons for believing are fallacious, if it's not good evidence, if it's not sufficient, then that means they have an unwarranted belief. But if in fact they have a warranted belief, I would like to share that. I want to believe things. I want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. And that's why it matters why you're convinced of something.
And the methodology, because I can easily construct like that I had a bad day today, and like, or let's say I have a string of bad days, and I could cite evidence that's evidence for like a good day fairy or something that's just like giving me good days, right? I can construct that type of evidence pretty easily, right? It's pretty easy to construct that. But if I don't generate some prediction in the future that I can like verify or I could even falsify, then like seemingly giving that type of a reason for the belief is distinct from just having the belief, or having the belief because like I have a hunch or like something that I might think justifies it. Like if I'm actually applying something that justifies it, and it's not just the belief, those are clearly two different types of situations, right?
Does that answer your question?
Well, but does that mean, yes, it does, but does having a reason to believe something needs to be an evidence for it?
If you're using a reason to justify X, presumably you're attempting to justify it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
I mean, I would just, in your daily life, if you're making decisions about what you find believable, isn't it always for you the result of the available evidence for the proposition?
For me, it is, but if I can make a distinction between something I believe not based on proof, just because I want to, based on faith, even though I'm not a believer anymore. But I just find it weird that as an atheist, I would ask for proof for something that's going to be proved, or actually an atheist asking for proof for something
now we're
they
to
don't
the
actually need proof for.
You just said that you find it weird that you would ask for evidence for something that can't be proved. How do you know it can't be proved?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, because we cannot provide any evidence for it. There you go.
No. That is the fact that you may not have good enough evidence for it now does not mean that there isn't good enough evidence that you just don't have. Doesn't mean that there won't be in the future. You do not know that this cannot be demonstrated. And that is your problem. You're not being skeptical. You're being cynical. You have reached the conclusion that God cannot be demonstrated. And once you've reached that conclusion, asking for evidence would seem ridiculous. If you think that there's no way to prove something, asking for evidence would be ridiculous. But you're wrong, because you have no way of demonstrating that it can't be proven. And I don't either. I don't think it's likely. But the reason I keep asking for evidence is because there are people out there who believe it and who believe they have evidence, and they believe that it can and has been demonstrated. Until that changes, we got to ask for evidence.
That was actually a good point. I wasn't thinking that it could be just cynical.
Yeah.
That's right.
No worries. Thanks, Serge.
Okay. That's awesome question. Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for having my call. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Have a good, day, evidently.